Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. So today's topic is a trainer education podcast, and it's about motivating clients. And this can be for motivating pretty much anybody in your life, somebody you care about and you want them to do well and you interact with on a regular basis and have the possibility or direct setup that you are kind of involved in what they're doing. So, for example, as a personal trainer, you'd be leading the process with your client. So, if you're talking about a spouse, you're not going to necessarily be leading the process, but you're interacting with them, you're kind of teammates in the process. If it's your kids, you're kind of the leader. If it's maybe a coworker, depending on your role, you might be a leader, you might be just like kind of equals. But these are ways in which, kind of just some food for thought on how to motivate other people. And for trainers, this is specifically towards your clients. And the reason why this kind of came up was a trainer that I counsel on a regular basis is having trouble with one of their clients. They're coming to the session, but they said they're just not their body is coming, but nothing else is. So their mind isn't showing up. They're not really there to prepared to work, and they're kind of whining, bitching and whining every time they do anything remotely difficult. And the trainer's kind of frustrated. And so we were talking about how to motivate this person. As a trainer, depends on your personality type, I guess. But for me, I get pissed off and angry whenever somebody comes in and doesn't try hard because it's a waste of my time and my knowledge. So I care less about the money. Money is nice. It helps pay bills and blah, 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 blah. But I don't train for money. So just because somebody pays me for this session, that does not calm me. So if they come in and they're half-assed and everything, I've told clients to their face before that I would rather sit in my office and stare at a wall than to train them if they are not showing up ready to work. Because I would rather waste my own time than have someone else waste my time. So that's my choice. So if I come in and the client isn't trying very hard, my initial response is, what the hell? And I would have anger. So I've learned that is not the right way to respond verbally outside to your client. So that's an internal response. And I've corrected it now. But that was what I was like when I was younger, especially when I was more driven to succeed at all costs in my physical endeavors. So the more disciplined I was with my endeavors, I had a hard time accepting lack of discipline from others. Now I've gotten a little older, a little calmer, and realized that other people's actions don't really don't affect me in that sense. In the sense that, okay, if I'm disciplined and this person isn't, that doesn't hurt me in any way. That's, their loss. And I can move on without having anger issues. But as a trainer, if a client doesn't try very hard, that does influence you. They're not going to get great results, which is going to make your training abilities not look good. So they're not doing their role of a partnership in trainer-client kind of relationship. So if clients don't try hard, they don't get good results, that makes you look bad as a trainer. That is not good for business. And if something isn't good for business, that means that you won't be able to reach as many lives and make as much of a difference in as many people's lives as you would like. So sometimes when we talk about business, it can be kind of the pure businessy sense, like talking about money, but it also can just be the ability that you have to reach into other people's lives is dictated by how well your business grows, the business of you as a trainer. So this person was saying, okay, what do I do? Like that trainer I was talking about, the client that was not coming in and their body was showing up but their mind wasn't. And we talked a little bit, and in general what it came down to, as I said, to sit them down in face to face instead of doing the training session whenever they would come into their gym or their facility or wherever they work out at. Have them just come in. If the trainer didn't have an office, they could sit in kind of the communal area, so the community area, but basically sit them down. Don't do the normal routine of getting on pieces of equipment. Don't even get on a treadmill. Break routine, because that'll feel odd and it'll open them up more. They'll know that, oh crap, something serious is happening here. And but I told him is sit them down and say, hey, what's going on? What are you struggling with that maybe I can help you. Because right now, when you're coming in to train, the quality of the training is horrible. You're not really here mentally. And not only do I not want you to get hurt, but you're also just not going to get anything from this. And before I waste more of my time and you waste more of your money, why don't we sit this down and figure this out? And that's a great way to approach it because it's real. It's fair to you because you're saying that you don't want your time wasted as a trainer. And it's fair to them because you're acknowledging what's happening and you're showing them that you care about them enough to sit down and talk this out rather than just keep taking their money and turning a blind eye to it and saying, oh, well. So you are actually a more caring individual to sit down and take on this conversation than you are to just pretend like nothing's happening and like, oh, well, I'll just give them a couple more workouts or I'll wait another month and see. That's not caring. If you truly loved someone, you would want to jump in on that and try to help them figure it out. You wouldn't let them sit there and stay in depressive mode. You wouldn't want them to sit there and waste another month of their life, another month of their money. If that was truly a loved one, you'd jump on it. You'd want to help them in. So that's what you want to do with a client is if they're struggling and it's a couple workouts or it's like a month or so. Like everybody has bad days. I'm not saying, after one bad day, sit everybody down and have a heart-to-heart. But if it is happening on a regular basis or it's happening more often than it used to, it might be good to address it, okay? So let's go through some kind of talking points here, and then we'll wrap up at the end and maybe give you something to try if you are, in fact, struggling with this as a trainer. So your role as a trainer is, first of all, when you're trying to motivate your clients, is to be real. So you want to be positive, but you always, 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 always want to be truthful. You do not give compliments when they're not due. So if someone's doing a shitty job, don't praise them. Okay? If they're doing shitty, say nothing or tell them they're doing shitty. Do not praise people for half-assed lazy efforts because they will then believe that half-assed lazy efforts are worthy of praise. They will think they are good enough, and that's the best they'll ever do. So it is very harmful to people, whether it's a loved one, kid, spouse, friend, whatever, or client. It's harmful to reward poor behavior. Okay? So you have to be real with them. Don't be an asshole. Okay? So be positive, be a friend, but be real. So if they're coming in and they did a pretty good workout, don't just go like, oh, this is great. I'm so happy with how today went. This is amazing. Thank you so much for coming in and doing well. This was just such a great day. No, if it was a normal day, it's a normal day. Just say, hey, I'm glad we had a good day today. Let's keep this up and see if we can keep going. That's it. But say they come in and they kick ass. Like I had a guy one time drive on his birthday. He drove 3 hours to come train with me on a Saturday morning from like a beach vacation. It was his birthday weekend. So he drove 3 hours because I couldn't reschedule due to how tight my schedule was. So he drove 3 hours. We trained, did some strongman fun stuff. He almost threw up. He was training so hard. And then he was going to drive back to finish the weekend with his family. Now, I did not know that ahead of time, so I kind of felt bad that he took time away from his family. But it was pretty badass that he came and wanted his results that bad. So it was really cool, and we had a great, great, great session. And from that session, he got programming help and some other odds and ends that were going to help him long term. So there was more than just a single session benefit to it. But that was pretty badass. So it was his birthday. He freaking showed up ready to crush it and kill it, even after a long drive. And he could have had a million excuses to miss that session, even though we had scheduled it ahead of time, which I'd have been bummed and kind of annoyed because so it's kind of one of those things that he lived up to his end in spite of all of the things that would have been normal excuses that people would have taken. So I told him it was badass. I was super excited for him. I really praised him for that because that was above normal effort. So therefore, they would get above normal praise. Now, the counter to that is I've had people come in and we've done an okay workout. They survived, but it wasn't that good of a day. So we'll get to the end, and when things are kind of wrapping up and calming down, and I've had this happen, time 2 or 20,000, is you'll get to the end and you'll just look at them and go, well, You made it through it, but that was kind of a shitty day. And they'll usually start laughing. And like they'll like, yeah, this and this came up and that came up, and I just wasn't, wasn't here mentally, or I had a rough day coming in, or I missed food, or I had a like horrible night's sleep. And I'd say, well, like I'm glad you did the session though. I'm glad you came in. We got what we needed to at least not fall backward. Maybe we move a little bit forward from this workout, but you gain some discipline, you gain some mental toughness, and we learned how to make a bad day still work for us. So I'm glad you came in. Okay, good job today. But that's real praise. So that's what I'm saying by be real is don't sugarcoat the moment. Be truthful with what the moment is. Find a way to be positive. Okay, so you can think of that compliment sandwich. So even if somebody does shitty, say, hey, I'm glad you came today. You didn't come with much, okay? So maybe next time eat a little bit more, or see if you can get some sleep. See if there's anything you can do to take control of what happened outside of our session so you can have a better session. But I'm glad you came, and I'm glad we got something in. So that's a compliment sandwich. It was a good thing, then the real thing, and then the good thing. So that would be a good way to kind of handle those moments. The other thing you want to think about is be a partner in the process. So help them address issues. So don't just tell them what they need to do, tell them how they need to do it. So if I told somebody hey, I need you to eat more before our next session. Okay, that's somewhat helpful. But eat more what? So for example, yesterday I had a conversation with a client. They had, before our workout, they had a pre-workout meal of, I think it was like tuna and avocado. Who the hell eats tuna anymore? But canned tuna, by the way, it's just garbage. So I ate too much of that when I was in college. I don't like it anymore. So they had canned tuna and avocado, and I think it was about like an hour maybe before the workout. And avocado has a lot of fats and it has a lot of fibers. It would not have been a good energy source for that timing of the meal because their body would not have been able to break down the avocado into a usable energy source within 1 hour. So they were actually starting the workout without the calories of the avocado actually being available to them. So what we talked about was not only eating before the workout, but eating the right things. So they're going to switch the avocado in their next time they work out with me at that time, is they're going to switch it to more of a faster digesting carb source, which could be something like a white bread, like a pita bread, like a tortilla wrap. So maybe they could do the tuna in a tortilla wrap, or they could do the tuna in some fruit. So like an easier, faster digesting carbohydrate, so that way that carbohydrate, the calories of the carbohydrate are actually in their system when we work out and they'll have better energy. So be a partner in the process. So if you find things that are wrong, don't just point out what's wrong, tell them how to address it, how to fix it. If you don't know, that's your opportunity to learn and become a better trainer. So go figure out the answer. But don't just tell people what to do. Tell them how to do it, okay? The last thing about your role in motivating a client is that you are a guide. So always remember that when a client comes to you and they tell you, I want to do X. So I want to lose 30 pounds by summer. I want to gain 10 pounds in my bench press. I want to just be less of a fat ass. So whatever it is, okay, whatever their goal is they don't know how to achieve it. Otherwise, they already would have. So your job is to be the guide, to tell them what they have to do. Now, when you tell them what they have to do to reach their goal, tell them the whole freaking truth, all of it. So when I was younger, I used to feel bad if somebody came to me and said, I want to achieve X. And I was like, holy shit, you were forever away from X. So, like, dear God. So I remember I had a guy come to me one time. He was like 5'2", no shoulders, kind of like skinny fat. And he's like, I want to look like The Rock. And I literally said to him that isn't going to happen. If I knew how to make you look like The Rock, I would look like The Rock. And The Rock isn't 5'2", and he isn't skinny fat, okay? So we can get you closer to what your version of The Rock would be. So we can get rid of the skinny, get you some muscle, we can get rid of the fat, okay? Get you lean and mean, but you're always going to be 5'2", and The Rock ain't 5'2". The Rock's also Samoan. You are not Samoan. So I kind of joked with them, but That's what you want to do, is you need to be telling people the whole truth. So if someone comes to you and they say, I want to lose 30 pounds in 30 days, you can say, is that possible? Yes. But is that the best goal for you to do? No. So I've had guys come to me and they say, I want to earn a pro card in bodybuilding. They're like maybe a year or two into lifting, don't really have that great of a physique. They wouldn't stand out on the beach if they were wearing like, swimming trunks on the beach. You wouldn't even really notice them. You'd just be like, oh, okay, It barely is that guy even in a great shape. They're just in okay shape. And they say, I want to earn a pro card. So I typically will tell them is, okay, that's an awesome goal, big goal. There's a lot of mini goals we got to achieve along the way. Let's look at the first mini goal. And maybe our first mini goal is to do a competition. For you to be ready to do a competition and do well, and in your current state you're at now, that's probably going to take at least 6 months to a year. So then if you're thinking about a pro card, that's going to be multiple shows, and that can take years and years and years. So the pro card might be 5, 6, 7, 8 years away, if at all, depending on genetics. But can we get you on stage to see if you like competing? To see what the judges say maybe are things that you need to work on? Yeah, we can do that. And let's aim for about a year. So you tell them the whole truth. You tell them what it would take to get a pro card, and that maybe they're not even going to ever get it. But you still find a way to do the positive motivation. So make sure you tell them the whole truth of what it might take. And if you don't know, don't make up shit, okay? So just say something like, let me look further into that so I can give you a better answer. That's a great thing to say. It doesn't mean anything. Like, you're not saying, I don't know this, I'm a dummy, okay? You can simply just say, again, let me look further into that so I can give you a better answer. That's it. So that way you can go educate yourself, figure out what it might take. That way it gives you time to make sure you're going to give the right answer, and it gives you the education on the process in which they're trying to undertake. So those are your roles when you look at trying to motivate clients, is to always be real. So be honest, but be real. That's what we mean by that, be real. And then be a partner in the process and be a guide. Okay, so here's some examples. So I had somebody come in the other day. They wanted to get a good workout in, but they were underfed. They didn't eat enough coming into the workout. And they didn't get their warm-ups in because they said they were running late because of blah, 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 blah. And they blamed someone else. So the first thing we did was we addressed the underfed and said, okay, given your food option, given your schedule, these are the things that I want you to try to eat from now on coming into this session, so that way you'll have more energy. And as for kind of being late and not getting your warm-ups in, that's your fault, not because of others. So you need to own your decisions. If you chose to stop to talk to somebody when you shouldn't have, that's your choice, that's your fault, not their fault. So you don't say, I was late because so-and-so was talking to me. No, you were late because you chose to talk to so-and-so. That is your fault. Own it. It's extremely important that you own it, because you can then control it and change it. If you blame others, you give control to others. And that's bullshit. You're an adult. You made a choice. Own the damn choice. So, what we said, and I have this with a couple other clients when it's, they have to have the right mindset and the playfulness, so hopefully this doesn't offend anybody. But we have what we call an FTW deadline. So, and what this means is, say they're supposed to start their warm-up, say their workout is at 5, and I want them to come and be doing their warm-up by 5:40 to 5:45. So it starts at 5. I want their warm-up to be done at 4:40 to 4:45. So it's kind of repetitive stuff. It's stuff we've done before that we don't really need to take our time together. So they don't really need to pay me for that, because it's something that they already know how to do. So just come 15 minutes early and get that done. So if they know for them to be to the gym on time, they have to leave their door, okay, their house door, at 4:15, then their FTW is 4:15. And what FTW means is F the world. So at 4:15, F the world, I'm getting in my car and I'm leaving. So that's the FTW deadline. And that's what I told this client, based on their workout, when I wanted them to do their warm-up, and what I wanted them to do. We figured out what their FTW deadline would be, and I made them write it on a note card. Okay, and then we even talked about putting it on their home phone, on their home page on their phone, as that deadline. So they were not late because of so and so. They were late because they chose to be late. It was their choice, their fault. Therefore, they can control it and change it. So next time so and so tries to talk to them, they can say, "Hey, I'm sorry, I can't talk right now. I've got to go. I will get in touch with you later." And then you walk out the door. So I've had people, we all know the people who don't get the hint, okay? So I've told people before, it's like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I got to go right now." "Yeah, I just had one more question." I just walk right away from them. I turn my back to them and start walking away. Could that be considered as rude? Possibly, but I told them I had to go. So I told them it was happening. They chose not to listen to me, and they chose to prioritize themselves over what I told them I needed for me. That doesn't mean that I have to agree with what their priorities are. So if they're like, "Oh, I just want to ask a quick question," I don't give a shit. I don't care if the question's 10 seconds or 10 minutes. I told you I gotta go. I gotta go. It's my choice to go. I'm leaving. So you have to own that. So if someone continues to talk, it is your choice to stand there. You have legs. You know how to use them. Move them. Start walking away. Okay? So I had another client. They came to me and they wanted to pass a kind of like a police PT test, and physical training or whatever the hell it would be, like physical testing. But basically, they were telling me like they had to jump over a 4-foot wall, they had to do X number of push-ups, they had to do X number of sit-ups, they had to do run a mile in X amount of time, and they were not even remotely close. They couldn't even run a mile in any time. They couldn't do any push-ups whatsoever. Couldn't do any pull-ups, which is part of the test, I believe. And there was no way in hell they were getting over a 4-foot wall. So I remember when that person came to me, they said, "Here's the parameters of the test. I would like to do it in 3 months." I told him, I looked at him, I said, "I don't think this will happen in 1 year." So how many push-ups can you do now? 0. How many pull-ups can you do now? 0. Okay. I'm assuming you came to me because you want to get better at push-ups and you want to get better at pull-ups and you want to get better at running and other things like that. You probably are unaware of how long it takes to get better at those things. So how long does it take to go from 0 push-ups to 10 push-ups? You're probably not sure. So my job is to tell you that, and my job is to tell you that it's going to take you longer than 3 months. And for this client, if you disagree that it takes 3 months to be able to do 10 push-ups, you're right that with certain people in certain backgrounds, certain mindsets, certain nutritional habits, yada, 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 hell yeah, we can get 10 push-ups out of 0 in 3 months if they're willing to work their ass off for it. But this person was not that person, okay? They had no physical background whatsoever, and they were in their late 40s. They ate like shit. They had every excuse under the sun for everything that was ever wrong with their life that was never them. It was always someone or something else. So you could tell the mindset wasn't there at all either. So it was going to take me 3 months to get them in the damn right mindset before I could even get a push-up out of them. So I told them the answer. I said, this is how long it's probably going to take, and that would probably take that long if you're perfect. So if you ate every meal, you did every workout. Chances are you're going to miss some of that stuff, so it's going to take even longer. So this is how long I believe it will take. Do you want to take on that challenge? And as we talked, I even told them that they're welcome to go get other opinions. Other trainers are going to tell them other answers. And be careful that what answer they're telling you might be because they want you to sign a contract. I don't have any contracts. I'm not trying to sign you up for 3 months or 6 months or, $1,000 ahead of time. So therefore, I'll tell you any bullshit lie you want to hear so that way I can get my money. I'm not one of those trainers. I don't have any contracts whatsoever. So my clients can pay at any rate they want. If they want to pay per session, they want to pay a couple sessions ahead of time, I don't care. So I'm not telling the person an answer to try to get them to sign a contract. I'm just telling them the answer because I think it's the right answer. So I told them that if they went to other trainers, they were going to get other answers. But be careful whether that answer they got was based on whether they signed a contract. So they decided to work with me. We started on that way, and something happened in their life. They had a loved one passed away, and kind of some priorities changed. But they were doing well, and we made some progress along the way, and we had a good time with it. But at the same time, is the example here is to be real and be truthful with them. So is it hard to tell people the truth if you think the truth is going to demotivate them? Yes, it is. But is it still your responsibility to do so? Yes, it is. You cannot lie to people as a personal trainer. And you can't choose to admit the truth. That is the same as lying. So you got to tell them the truth. Then you tell them what the mini steps are. You find ways to motivate them within the truth, but you always tell them the truth. Okay? So typically for motivating clients, what I like to do is I just do it per session based on the individual. So just kind of get an idea of how their mood is when they come in, how their work ethic is while they're working out. I kind of do it on a case-by-case basis as I see them each session. That's totally fine. So sometimes if somebody has a bad day, I try to pump them up right away. We have a fun time. We get their mindset right. They end the session. They have a great time. Sometimes it's kind of a shitty day. We kind of okay, but they're still kind of wishy-washy at the end. So maybe I send a text to follow up later and email the next day. So I kind of do it case by case. So some trainers I work with, they choose to do daily motivations or weekly motivations. So I have one client, they send a mass text to all of their clients every single morning. Freaking awesome. Congratulations to them. That's awesome that they do that. So they send a mass text, and it might be a quote, a video, a picture, some kind of motivational thing. They do that every day. Some people will do email, and there's Boomerang, which is the feature on Gmail where you can schedule emails. So they'll schedule an email to be sent out maybe once every week, and maybe on a Monday morning. So they can write it anytime they want. They'll just schedule it to be sent for Monday mornings, and they might do a mass one to all of their clients. So if you want to do individual one-on-one basis, that's fine, but I would definitely do that only when needed. Don't try to send an individual message to every one of your clients every single day. That's obnoxious. It's going to take you forever, and sometimes you're just going to annoy the client, okay? So if they're feeling motivated, you don't need to keep pouring shit on them. So, but like a mass one is good, and at least every week might be a nice idea. So it's just some things that maybe you run across in your personal life that motivate you in your training. You can kind of send that link to them. So it's kind of a fun idea. It's a good way to create some more camaraderie, more connection, personal connection with your clients. So that's an idea that a lot of the trainers I work with use. So mass texts or mass emails. And if it's an email, you can always schedule it to be sent at a specific time. And you can do that daily or weekly. And it's kind of whatever motivates you is probably going to motivate them. So it's nice to have a little bit of randomness. More so a little bit of variety. So don't always do a quote every day. Sometimes do a video. Sometimes do a picture. So mix it up a little bit. Okay? And last thing I want to leave you with is something you can try this week. Okay? And I've had a trainer try this recently. I thought it was kind of a fun practice. And this is something I do that I didn't really think of much until we were talking. Is be the counter to what they present. So if you have a client that comes in and they're their own worst critic and they're just kind of ripping themselves apart, like, I'm not good at anything, I always screw these things up, or I'm never good at remembering this and this and this and this. So if you have somebody who's their own worst critic, try to be a good cheerleader to them. Pump them up. Tell them what they're good at. And if they're not good at it, just tell them, like, hey, listen, I struggled with the same things when I first started. It just takes some practice. So, like, for example, I one time tried to learn the guitar. I was horrible at it. I understand how to read music. I just was not good at plucking strings. I couldn't really figure out the fingering for the on the neck to play the different notes. It was just not my natural skill set. So I could work really hard, and could I be good at it? Yeah, but I don't really want to. So when you have somebody who says, I'm never good at this stuff, tell them things maybe you had struggle with. Like, be a cheerleader to them. If they're already a critic, don't be a critic on top of that. Don't match them. Counter them. Now, if they're overhyping themselves up, if they're like, man, I was really good today, and you're like, not really, that was actually kind of shitty. I just set the bar really low because that's all I thought you were going to do. So, in your head. So you can kind of be more reality for them. So if they're pumping themselves up, you can say something like, you've improved, yes, and I'm happy for you. But there's still room for us to improve on even from here. So if you have a client who went from eating, ho-hos and donuts and shit, and now all of a sudden they're eating microwaved meal that's actual real food, like in terms of like a meat and a carb and vegetable, that's an improvement, but are microwaved meals the best quality of food? Probably not. So they're probably better learning how to cook their food themselves. So if they're switching from junk food to all of a sudden eating like home cooked meal, microwaved meals, you can congratulate that, but don't let them stop there. Make sure that they keep pushing. Okay. So don't overhype somebody for mediocre efforts. Make sure they're continuing to push harder and trying to get to the absolute best effort. Okay. So if they're doing well and they're in the middle, then just congratulate them and move on to the next goal or try to complete the goal you're at. But think of that this week, is if you have somebody comes in and they're super peppy, they're really excited, just ride that. Have fun with that, okay? But if they start being like overly critical of themselves, counter it. Be the cheerleader. If they're cheering themselves on too much, try to challenge them a little bit. Say, hey, yeah, you really did do well with that challenge, but I wonder if you can do any more. And you can poke at them a little bit and try to motivate them even more. So that's something to think of, to try that, is just see, can I be the cheerleader for my clients who beat themselves up? And if I have a client who's accomplishing all the goals, can I push them? Can I try a bigger goal for them? Okay? So there's just some good food for thought. Hopefully you guys found that helpful. So remember, when you're trying to motivate other people, if you're trying to motivate a client, is be real. So be positive, but always be truthful. Be a partner in the process. Help them address the issues. Don't just tell them what to do, tell them how to do it. And also remember to be a guide. They don't know, so you have to tell them. And what you tell them is the